Okay, we've all heard the warnings about AI taking over jobs. But what happens when that job is supposed to be one of the most creative, most human professions out there? Academic research. Today, we are diving into a really fascinating debate, where a panel of top researchers asked a pretty scary question. Can a machine actually replace the human mind in the hunt for new knowledge? First up, let's just get a sense of the stakes here, because they are huge. AI expert Kai-Fu Lee predicts that in just 15 years, AI could wipe out a staggering 40% of all jobs. And we're not just talking about routine factory work. No, this includes white-collar jobs. Think accounting, law, even parts of healthcare.
But we always think there's a safe zone, right? The really creative, deeply intellectual work that just feels uniquely human. We kind of pride ourselves on original thought being this rare, special thing. So the question this panel of experts asked was, is even that safe? Can a machine really do what a researcher does? All right, let's start with the first side of the argument, what we're calling the human advantage. This is the case from scholars who are pretty adamant that, you know what, the core things humans do in research, they're simply irreplaceable.
So this really gets to the heart of the human-centric argument. One of the panelists, Atre Kankanhali, she points out that AI totally fails at the most important tasks. It can't come up with a truly new problem out of the blue or build a theory by asking that fundamental human question, why? It just doesn't have a deep grasp of context, and it can't look at results and find any real meaning. Sure, it can spot patterns, but it has no idea what they actually signify. So to boil it down for the no camp, it's this. AI is an incredible assistant, an amazing tool, but it's just a tool. It can dig through mountains of data and find connections we might miss, but it can't replicate that spark of human creativity or understand the real importance of what it finds.
But you knew this was coming, right? There is a whole other side to this debate. So let's flip over to the counter-argument, the automation inevitability. This is the case from the panelists who think the replacement of researchers isn't just possible, it's already happening.
This slide just lays it all out, like a head-to-head matchup. On the left, you've got the argument that AI lacks creativity and deep understanding. But on the right, you have what the yes camp says AI can already do. Things like generating testable hypotheses, writing entire articles, and yeah, even creating literature reviews completely from scratch.
Let's really zero in on that creativity argument, because it's the absolute cornerstone of the no camp's position, this idea that original thought is exclusively human. And it sounds like a really solid argument, but the evidence might just surprise you.
Well, here's the reality check. A panelist, M. Lynn Marcus, dropped this bombshell. Back in 2019, the major academic publisher Springer, they released a research book that was entirely generated by an algorithm. Yeah, it took over 150 other books on a topic and created a brand new, coherent summary.
And it doesn't stop with one book. The yes camp pointed to some other pretty wild examples. AI already composes non-stop death metal music online. Who saw that coming? It can take raw data and spit out a news story that's ready to publish. And, like we saw, it can analyze scientific papers to suggest totally new ideas for humans to go test.
But maybe the most mind-bending piece of evidence came from Marcus again. She brought up this famous study by a couple of economists on which jobs AI could automate. And the big twist? Their own algorithm predicted a high probability that the profession of, well, economist could be automated. The experts on automation basically predicted their own obsolescence.
So where does that leave us? It feels like a stalemate, but maybe the answer isn't a simple yes or no. The debate eventually moved to a much more nuanced view, a hybrid future, where it's not about man versus machine, but man and machine working together.
Panelist Stefan Grobel introduced this great concept called hybrid AI. The idea is that the best results come from combining the raw number-crunching power of a machine with the deep experience and knowledge of a human expert. The AI gets embedded in our work to augment our abilities, to make us better, not just to replace us.
So what can you actually do to prepare for this? The panel had some clear advice. First, you've got to embrace data-driven discovery. Second, learn to work with AI like it's a partner. And third, and this is so important, focus on the human job of making that AI black box understandable and making sure that as we develop it, it actually aligns with our goals and our values.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't really just about academics. This whole debate is a perfect snapshot of what every single knowledge worker is facing. So what's the big takeaway for all of us?
The panel left us with some really deep questions to chew on. Like, how do you even measure the value of something like human intuition? When an AI can process every piece of data out there, what's the role of a human expert? And could our supposed flaws, like being a bit irrational, actually become our secret weapon when all the rational machines are saying the same thing? And then there's the big one. Which parts of your job are vulnerable?
And that brings us to the final, and frankly, pretty chilling thought from the panel, which comes from a quote by Clay Shirky. It's a massive warning to any professional who thinks their work is just too complex, too special to be automated. Because historically, the experts, they're often the very last to see their world getting turned upside down. So the question for all of us is, are we seeing the change that's already here?